How's it going, everybody? It's Zach back here with Clutch Crew Sports, and I do want to give a little bit of an announcement for you guys at the very beginning of this show. It's coming out on a different date than what you are used to, so unfortunately we weren't able to upload this show by Tuesday, and we had some technical difficulties and trouble with finding hosts and everything. But I tried recording solo and it failed a couple of times. So we just decided to run through our normal reaction video. It's coming out a day late. And then we are going to skip the prediction video for next week. We're still going to make our predictions. We'll post our predictions on all the social media accounts and everything, but we just won't have a video for it. And some topics that we're going to be talking about today, if you guys want to know what's going to be in the episode chronologically. So as always, we start with college. We're going to run down the scores. I've got a rant prepared, so stay tuned. It's a new thing for me to rant. I really don't think I've ranted at all on this.
Yeah, usually that's me, folks. You did hear that right. You did hear that.
Yeah. Yep. So I've got a special rant planned, and actually, these guys don't even know what it's going to be about. They've never heard about it. They have no clue what it'll be about. I mean, they've got a little bit of a clue on the subject, but they really don't know.
We know the game, but not the subject.
Yep. And then for all you SEC football fans, this will be a good episode for you because we're going to be talking about the different SEC teams that have a real shot at making the playoffs. There's 5 of them that really have the potential to do it, but we'll run through some of the contenders, pretenders between the 5, which ones we like the best, which ones we think can have the best shot at winning the national championship. And then we'll switch into the NFL, show you guys the scores, our predictions, of course. A little bit of a spoiler here. I did really bad with NFL and college predictions. We'll get to that. Not a good week for me in general with the fantasy and the projections. And then we've got some key NFL games to talk about, and we have fantasy results also because this week was the double podcasters matchup. And then finally, we're going to share a little bit of lighthearted NBA news. My favorite NBA player is making headlines today for his rap against Shaquille O'Neal. We won't play the raps, but we'll show you guys some of the lyrics from the raps that those two put out, and you guys can already guess who I think won, even though I haven't even listened to Shaq's rap.
Spoiler alert.
But no, I'll tell you my thoughts too on what I really think about it, and yeah, so we do want to let you guys know, sorry, that today's episode is sponsored with Kawhi Leonard's enthusiasm. So I can't even keep a straight face.
Can Eric, you keep it together?
I can't keep a straight face. Eric, take it away.
Made or miss league. Make miss. Make or miss league, baby.
So for people on YouTube, you
Kawhi Leonard. I was feeling some Kawhi Leonard energy there, and I had to just get it out for a second.
Probably the most robotic NBA superstar there's ever been. I mean, we don't know how the ones way back in the day did without social media and stuff, but in today's era, by far, I mean, borderline robotic. I really gotta say that because the lack of human expression on his face. I mean, we'll talk about Kawhi when we get to the NBA preview. Maybe I'll bring this up, but he's a weird guy. Really is. But that doesn't take anything away from his talent on the court. And so we'll start listing off the scores here and tell you guys how the 3 college predicting podcasters did. So Penn State at Maryland. The Maryland curse for Connor.
Your streak came to an end.
It came to an end, and in typical Maryland fashion, it wasn't even close. 59-0 for Penn State. I mean, at least if you're a Maryland fan, you don't have the anxiety of these games going down to the wire. But I was the only one getting that one wrong. You guys, of course, know why I picked Maryland. Arizona State at Cal. This was an upset here I did not predict, but Cal actually won the game 24-17. I was the only one getting that one right. Texas Tech at Oklahoma. Oklahoma won 55-16. I was the only one getting this wrong. That's partly why I'm going to be ranting about this game. I'll say I'm not ranting about the score. I'm ranting about, and I wouldn't have known this if I wasn't paying attention. If I had picked Oklahoma, I probably wouldn't have even been looking around at this point. But I saw something happen, and it really irritated me enough to come up with this rant. So I'll get to that once we go through all these scores. Northwestern at number 8 Wisconsin. Wisconsin wins a grinded out game 24-15. Two defensive touchdowns for Wisconsin propelled them in this, and I was the only one getting that one right with Northwestern covering the spread. Middle Tennessee State and Iowa. Iowa blew them out 48-3. We all got it right. Same thing with the Michigan-Rutgers game. 52-0 Michigan. We all got it right. Texas A&M and Arkansas. I'll be talking about this one too because I watched quite a bit of it. Texas A&M wins a close one, 31-27, but they did not cover the spread. We all got Arkansas, and we all got it right. Number 1 team in the country, Clemson at North Carolina. Clemson barely wins, 21-20. Of course, we all got it wrong because we picked Clemson with the spread, and we'll talk about that one too. Ole Miss at Alabama. Bama wins 59-31. Just barely covering the spread with a late touchdown by Ole Miss, but Connor and I got it right. Virginia at Notre Dame. Notre Dame wins by 15 points. Connor being the only one getting that right. USC at Washington. Washington wins 28-14. Nate was the only one getting that one wrong. He actually predicted a USC win. Indiana at number 25, Michigan State. Michigan State wins 40-31. Real close game. Connor, only one getting that one right. Florida barely covers the spread against Towson. 38-0 Gators. We all got it right. Auburn absolutely throttled Mississippi State in a way I did not expect. 56-23 at Auburn. I was the only one getting that wrong. UConn managed to win the spread in this game, but they definitely lost on the scoreboard. 56-21 UCF. We all got that right with Connecticut. Kansas State and Oklahoma State. This is another one I was really disappointed in. Oklahoma State just controlled the whole game, 26-13. I was the only one getting this wrong. And number 5, Ohio State at Nebraska. Ohio State just demolished Nebraska. We all got it right. And then the next two here, Washington State at Utah. Utah wins easily, 38-13. We all got it wrong. And then Iowa State and Baylor, we all got wrong too, as Baylor wins 23-21. And now we'll show you guys kind of where we are at afterwards with our games record and win percentage. So we didn't have the win percentage in the last week, but I went down a couple of percentage points here. I'm currently at 59% right with my college predictions. Connor's at 57% in second place, and Nate is dead even with 50% with his college predictions.
If you want some context on how it changed, I picked up 4 games on Zach this week. Zach was 5 games ahead after last week. Yeah. So I managed to close the deficit down to 1 after this week.
Yeah. And what was that, Eric?
I said good week for Connor, man.
Yeah, oh yeah. He had
if only the NFL picks had gone that way too, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first thing we have highlighted here is the rant, the game with the rant. So kind of like I said,
mark this moment down in your calendars, folks. Zach is ranting.
It's rare. It's a rare occurrence. It's a rare occurrence. Because I really, there a lot of times when athletes have a bad game or something happens, someone makes a mistake, something like that, I tend not to rant because I myself, there's no way I could even be on this level of competition. So I feel like personally, like they're doing way better than me. I can't get too mad at them because they're so much better than me at this. But this is an instance where this is something that I would absolutely not have done in a million years. And what I'm talking about and what I'm referring to is in this game, I'll show you here because I actually have the exact times and scores and everything. So as you can see, what I'm talking about right here, I've got kind of pulled up the whole drive here. The score at this point on this drive is 41-10 in favor of Oklahoma. And it's only been 3 minutes into the third quarter. I want to get this. Yeah. So as you can see, there's been more than 3 minutes, but at the time that they kicked this field goal, there's 8 minutes left in the third quarter. So obviously, Texas Tech, I don't think they expected to win this game. It would have been a massive upset. It would have been crazy. These two teams are not on the same playing field as far as their talents, as far as the playing talents of these two teams. So when you look at the score 55-16, yeah, Texas Tech, they could have done a little bit better, but that's not what I'm ranting on, because if I was ranting about that, I'd be ranting about Rutgers, I'd be ranting about Middle Tennessee State. All these teams that lost big should be ranted about if that's my reasoning for this. But no, that's not my reasoning. So if you look here at this drive, so there's a couple plays here: first down, personal foul, 2 yards, loss, 4-yard gain. You get down to here, and it's 4th and 6 at the Oklahoma 18, and they trot out Trey Wolf. Let me look up the name of this. I think his name starts with, I think his first name is Matt, but Texas Tech head coach. I looked this up when I did the rant. I want to get the name right. Matt Wells, this guy right here. That's Cliff Kingsbury. I guess this is Matt Wells right here.
I'm about to say, that didn't look like Matt Wells.
So this article says 4 reasons Matt Wells is a great Texas Tech head coach hire. Well, if it was up to me, Matt Wells would not be the coach at Texas Tech anymore. And I know you're going, whoa, Zach, whoa. Okay. I think... Yeah. Wait, what did you say, Eric?
I just said, calm down, sir. Obviously,
but hopefully the details will, shine.
Okay. When there's 8 minutes left in the third quarter, you're getting your butts kicked. You're down by 31 points. Okay. You don't kick a field goal on 4th and 6 in the red zone. There's no instance where you would ever do that, okay? To me, that's just showing a lack of respect for his team. He doesn't think they're good enough to get this first down. He doesn't think they're even capable enough to try and make a comeback, because let's just say they get the touchdown and it's 17-41. It's still a long shot, but at least it's technically possible. At least they might be able to cover the spread. At least it might be a little bit respectable. But instead, I don't know why you would ever have your field goal kicker come out and kick a field goal, because that does no good for you. There's no possible way Texas Tech is getting any future momentum for next week by kicking a field goal here. Okay, even if you go out on 4th and 6 and you run a play and you don't get it, I would be fine with that, because at least as a coach, you're showing belief in your team that they can do this. Okay, his players, I don't think, can respect him now after this. I mean, maybe I'm thinking way too deep into this, but 8 minutes left in the third quarter. So you had 15 minutes in the fourth quarter and 8 minutes left in the third quarter, and you decide to kick a field goal. I mean, what is this? Like, what are you trying to do here? It baffles me. It really does, because and they didn't score. They scored another field goal to end out the game. It I don't. This just bothers me. It really does. Because I had Texas Tech, and I was rooting for them for the spread. I mean, obviously, if it was close and stuff, I'd watch it and be rooting for them for the upset either way. But for my, who cares? With most people be like, oh, who cares? It's just a little bit of points. Well, I had them in this for the spread reasons, and I was pissed off about it because it wasn't even like it was a 4th and 20. It's not like you're running a desperation play here. It's not like you're on your own side of the field trying to do this, then I can see, okay, yeah, you don't get it, and then you make things worse. How do you make things better with a field goal? I don't want to keep talking about this, but I just lost respect for this guy. Okay, yeah, I want you guys' thoughts.
Need a breather. Well, I mean, one thing that this is my first time seeing any of this because, I didn't know what.
Same here.
but looking at this too, just to kind of add to this and like something else that Zach hasn't even mentioned yet. From the moment they had it 1st and 10 on Oklahoma's 22-yard line, they didn't even on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down. They didn't even run a single pass play. Like 1st and 10, okay, I could understand. Maybe even 2nd and 12, like you lost 2 yards, so you want to try to get some of the yardage back to make it a manageable 3rd down.
I didn't even see that, Eric. I didn't even see that.
On 3rd and 8, on 3rd and 8,
he was focused on the field goal.
On 3rd and 8, why aren't you running a pass play there?
Fire Matt Wells. That's all I'm saying.
FireMattWells.com. No, I mean, but seriously though, like why 3rd and 8? Why are you not calling a pass play there? A 2-yard run. What was that? That's garbage.
Well,
what about the other field goal drive, Zach, where they got it to 48-16? What about that one? Did they run a pass play there? Where's it?
Oh, pass complete. Wow. That's crazy.
Dude,
2nd and 10.
Well, no, but then they called a pass play on 3rd down, and they got defensive holding, and then
go down to where they kicked the field goal, like where. Okay, 3rd and 15, they ran a pass. So
yeah, they ran quite a few passes on that drive.
They ran they ran it on that one, but still, like 3rd and 8 with 8 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter, and you're down. What was it, 41-10 at that point? Like
48 to 13.
No, on the previous drive.
Okay.
Yeah, 41-10.
Yes, 41.
Why not throw a pass there? That makes no sense.
Well, if I have to be a bit of a more voice of reason here, I mean, being as though I've watching football at App State, I can tell you that I love Zach Thomas. He's a great quarterback, but the main strength of the App State offense is the run game, and we have so many run plays that. There's been so many times where we've been in situations like 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10. I'm like, why are we running the ball? But then we go and rip off like a 15-yard run because that's how good our running game is. Maybe that's what it was with Texas Tech. Maybe they're not confident enough in their quarterback to get that 1st down in that scenario. They're thinking, oh, okay, well, why don't we play to our strengths? And also on 3rd and 8, you're not expecting the other team to run the football. You're expecting them to pass it. So it's a way that you can, I don't know, maybe try and catch the other team off guard, especially in a game where, you're getting your butt kicked like that bad. And I mean, the field goal does look a bit worse to me. I mean, the fact that, like Zach said, there's still time left in the game at this point, but maybe, in his head, he's thinking, well, we're getting our butts kicked and maybe this can get us back on the right track. Like get some points, put it up on the board, and maybe our defense will do something for us, which obviously it didn't because Oklahoma got a touchdown.
Oklahoma's scoring in touchdowns. They're not scoring in field goals. Like that's
well, the thing is, it's like it's one thing you have to go out and you have to think like, you have to put points on the board. Leaving points on the board when you can easily get them is a lot of times turns into bad decisions. Like, I've seen so many times in the NFL where, I mean, I know this game wasn't as close as a lot of games I've seen, but there's times when you can get that 3 points, it's better than nothing. And if you know that, who's to say they were going to get that 4th and 6? It's not like it was 4th and 2 or 4th and 1 when it was like, okay, had they not gone for it in that scenario, then yeah, I would have been right there with you. Like, okay, why don't you go for that? But it's 4th and 6. You've been getting your butt kicked all game. Oklahoma's defense is stifling you. Just take the points. Get something to get you on a track to maybe something better. So, I mean, while I don't completely agree with what they did, I'm a bit less upset than like what you guys have been saying.
The fire Matt Wells train has started.
I'm not on it.
I mean, I have to. I mean, obviously, since I don't really follow college football, and I'm not a Texas Tech fan by any means, so obviously I don't really truly care about this. But I have to agree with Zach a little more, and which is rare because usually, most of the time when there's an instance where like you can either make like a really aggressive play call or make a really conservative play call. Like Zach's the one that goes for the aggressive move, the one that's like, no, let's do the conservative thing. But like,
I think this is the first for me going with the conservative route. I usually tend to be pretty aggressive.
Yeah, in this instance though, I have to agree with Zach. Like, I mean, you're already down by so many points. Like if it was like 24-13, okay, kick the field goal to get it back to within one score or something. But like, it was 41-10, so like just with it only being 6 yards, I'd say go for it. Like it's not a easy first down to get, but it's also manageable. I would have gone for it there too. Like I have to agree with Zach on that one. But
I'm really
it's not like it's not a huge deal, but.
Yeah. Well, you didn't have Texas Tech in your thing too. When I saw that, I was like.
Well, true, but I mean, if I'm being honest, I didn't even factor that into me talking about this. I mean, it's like because I didn't watch this game at all, so I had no idea. But it's like I was just saying,
you got demolished, but yeah.
I was just saying I'm surprised I'm the one taking the conservative route here because usually I'm with Zach going on the aggressive train. So.
Yeah, usually Eric's the one that's like, don't go for 2 or don't
Well, then again, I did agree with Eric on that too. That I didn't think the Jaguars should have gone for 2 on that. Yeah. So. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting more conservative as I get older.
And I'm learning that. I know you're going to be transitioning into the Clemson UNC game, but that was actually an instance where I would say they should. I agreed. Yeah, I didn't really like the play that they ran, but I agreed.
I hated the play that they ran.
Yeah, I agree with the move. I will say that I do agree with the move
to go for it because you're a huge underdog.
Yeah.
Like you're lucky to even be in this game because like I said, they were favored to lose by like 26.5 points.
Yeah.
So like in that instance, and especially with the way the college overtime is where they get the ball at the 25-yard line, like highly unlikely they're going to be able to stop Clemson like when Clemson gets the ball that close like that. So I agreed with them going for 2 and like trying to end it there. So that was a different scenario as the Jags Texans a couple weeks ago. But I liked the call. I mean not like the play call.
Not the play call.
Yeah, really weird.
We'll start talking about that before we go to the Texas A&M, but about the play call there, I mean, it was tried to be too like trickery, too like. Clemson's a good enough defense to
trying to be Boise State.
Clemson's a good enough defense not to fall for that and not to you got to just I don't know exactly what they should have done, but I wouldn't have done that. I really don't know. I didn't watch the full game, so I don't know what was working for him. But when I saw that, I knew that there was no chance.
They had some success running the ball. I mean, I wouldn't have done like a handoff up the middle, but maybe like a sweep toss or just get all the blockers out there or something. Like the option thing was, I don't know, I didn't agree with that, but yeah, they had some success running the ball, so I would have tried a different run play probably. But I mean, kudos to them for even being in the game that long and having a chance. Like it made it exciting to watch, even though I know you all got it wrong in the spread. But
well, I mean, at that point in the game, there was no way Clemson was covering the spread, so it was like whatever.
Well, I mean, I'm happy for me because the fact that aside from App State, I'm a UNC fan too, and it's like the fact that they held their own with the number one team in the league for the entire game. I mean, I will say that because I didn't watch the game, but looking back on the stats, to me, I think it's more an instance of Clemson playing bad than UNC playing good.
Agreed. I agree with that.
Yeah, and because I've looked at, there was, before I had ESPN on earlier, and I was looking at the difference in Trevor Lawrence's stat line between like where he was last year at this time, where his stats were, and what it is this year. And it's like he only threw 4 interceptions all season last year, and he's already thrown like 5 or 6 at this point in the season already. So it's like, I think it's more of a regression for Clemson in this scenario, which I say, I mean, kudos to UNC for being in the game. And I agree with Eric 100% too. I agree about the going for 2 in that one because, I mean, what are the chances that you're going to, like you said, stop Clemson in overtime? So why not just try and end it right there and right then? Because, picking the extra point, like, yeah, it's a gimme. People will say, oh, you should have done that. That was the safe play. But in all likelihood, they wouldn't have gone on to lose the game had they done that. So, and obviously, had they gotten the 2-point conversion, they would have won, which would have been like one of the biggest upsets of all time, honestly, that in recent memory. So,
I agree that. I mean, I was rooting for them to get that, but unfortunately, they didn't. A game that I watched before that game came on was Texas A&M and Arkansas. Played in Dallas, Texas, a neutral field. And I hadn't realized this actually, but the announcers were saying something about how like the last 6 times that these two teams have played, all the games have been decided by 7 points or fewer, something like that. So I mean, and Texas A&M through that stretch has consistently been ranked or very good if they're not ranked. And Arkansas has had a couple of good years, but lately the last couple of years they haven't been doing well. They're on a huge SEC losing streak. They didn't win an SEC game last year. They've yet to win one this year. Not sure how many games in the previous season before last year what their last SEC win was, but I know it's a bad streak that they wanted to break, and it's pretty heartbreaking for them to lose this way. Texas A&M didn't look that good. I mean, they haven't looked good to me.
I think they're overrated.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, it's I think a name thing is keeping them ranked right now with Jimbo Fisher being so highly paid and everything like that. I think that's given them a little bit more than what they should be. But I mean, this is a rivalry game. Arkansas played their tails off, but they couldn't get the win. But when I made the predictions from last week's episode, I was kind of having a moment like my rant where I couldn't find what to say because I was just so like, Eric will remember this. You remember, Eric, how I was just like, I was just like so angry with this. And I'm only angry about the stuff that I can control. Like, I mean, as a coach, you can control that play call. As a, for me anyways, I'm more likely to be a coach than a player, or an odds maker than, the quarterback. So, yeah, when I saw that Texas A&M was favored by 23.5 points, I was out of my mind upset compared to the I mean, I did compare it to the Clemson one, which was a bad example. I think Eric compared it to the Rutgers-Michigan one, which was a way better example. But
I think I compared it to the Ole Miss and Alabama.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's kind of a recap for how that went. Ole Miss and Alabama. That game was kind of close in the first quarter. Ole Miss had like a 10-7 lead. I think some people were getting a little bit worried there, but then Alabama's offense went on their usual run and scored a bunch of points in the second and third quarters. Didn't really need to play 2 in the fourth quarter, and then Ole Miss got a I don't even know how it was, but I thought it was. I almost marked these red. I almost marked the Ole Miss ones red and the Bama green, but Ole Miss had a huge play as time expired to get a touchdown, and that made them cover the spread here, so to say. but obviously still losing the game. Virginia Notre Dame. Virginia was hanging in there for a bit, but Notre Dame just came up on top, and then some of the rest of these kind of predictable. Oh, Mississippi State and Auburn. I didn't highlight this, but I was shocked at just how dominant Auburn was over Mississippi State. I mean, I predicted this as an upset Mississippi State win, but good God, they got demolished. And I think this is good Auburn, unlike unlike the bad Clemson thing for that. I mean, this is just good Auburn. I mean,
well, I think Auburn has been severely underrated when it comes. Like, we're gonna get to SEC in a little bit, but like out of those 5 teams, I think people have been severely underestimating Auburn, and I think this is a good showing. I mean, I know they were at home in this game too, but I mean, after like they went on the road and beat Texas A&M, and now they just are at home and demolish Mississippi State. Like, Auburn is no joke.
Yeah. Winning against Oregon too, neutral
right?
site.
Yeah, exactly.
So then we come down here to these later games in the day. It's a poor time to be a Washington State fan right now.
Sorry, Grandpa.
Yeah. But I mean, because they gave up that huge comeback to UCLA the week before.
I guess
nobody
only 3
expected
team.
that. Yeah, to UCLA of all teams too. It wasn't even like they got out to a huge lead against the we expected them to get to that lead. We expected them to be able to at least get the win with that lead. but anyways, in Utah is a tough task here. So I'm not exactly surprised that they lost the game. I could have seen that. The closer it led up to this game, the less good I felt about it because I saw all my other predictions going bad. I had a bad feeling about this. And after the game here, Mike Leach, the head coach for Washington State, he's been known to be a character. He had some quotes about his players, and I'll ask you guys both this too, because I want to, even though Eric's not a college guy, he can still have an opinion on this. But do you think these comments are going to end up being a good thing or a bad thing to call your players fat, dumb, and entitled?
I think it. No,
I'll let you go first. Okay. I mean, my opinion would be that it would be bad. I mean, maybe he could have gotten away with these types of comments in like the 90s or something, but I understand like wanting to call your players out when they're not playing well, but I wouldn't use words like fat and dumb or even entitled. Really, I would just be like,
another one was happy too.
It's interesting. But I would just, I mean, if I'm calling him out, I'm like, we're playing terrible and we have to be better. Like I'm not necessarily like mad at him for acknowledging that the players aren't playing well, but saying fat and dumb, if I was a player, that would piss me off. I mean, I don't know. That's just my opinion on it. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you were a Texas Tech player, would you be pissed off at that too, when the coach said we're gonna kick a field goal? Let's say you were on the offense. Would you be pissed off that he sent out the field goal unit there?
Yeah, I mean, I would have been upset. I mean, like I said, when we were talking about that game, I agreed with you that I thought on for it. But this, I would be I guess if I was a player and I could have been in either one of these situations, the situation that probably would have like made me more upset would be this.
Yeah.
It's like I'm going out there and playing, and yeah, we're not doing well, but you're gonna call me dumb and fat. Okay, no,
Well, he could look at the mirror about the fat part. I mean,
not exactly one to be
it's
like,
kind of the wrong messenger for that.
It's not exactly one to be able to look in the mirror and say I'm athletic, talented. But I wouldn't have said this. Like, if I'm the coach and my team's lost a few games in a row, and then this last one being like 38-13 or whatever it was, I'm calling them out, but not like that. So I guess that's my opinion on it. With my brief,
that's fine.
Seeing this, Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with Eric on that. That I think this was the wrong way to handle this. I mean, like Eric said, there's nothing wrong with calling out your players, I don't think. But again, don't do it in this way. I mean, do it in a way, I know this was more of a comical way, but the way that Jim Mora did it, like in his famous interview that he did, like the playoffs interview where he's calling out his team, like, they're like, oh, well, what do you think you're going to make the playoffs? And he's like, playoffs? Playoffs? Like,
oh, my dad loves that.
Yeah.
He loves that commercial.
but and he's like, the way we're playing, I just hope we can win a game. Like, he's calling his players out right there. And it's like, I think that's a good way to do it. I mean, because, this is one thing that we're going to get to this later. This is one thing that angers me about, the Pittsburgh Steelers fans right now is they keep trying to call out Mike Tomlin and all the coaching staff for all the problems that the team is having. And I'm like, well, you do realize that the players actually have to go out there and perform. Like, the coaches can only do so much from the sidelines. I mean, they're not the ones that are out there having to block and, make passes and make tackles and stuff like that. So, so this is just, it's the wrong way to handle it. You can't go calling your players fat and dumb and then expect them to go out there and play hard for you. I mean, if you call them out and say that they're not playing well, like they're not blocking, they're not tackling, that might motivate them to go, I'm going to show you, that I'm a good player. But if you just call them fat and dumb, then they're going to think you're fat and dumb too. And it's just going to,
well, then with college football, they can just transfer,
right.
It's not like in the NFL where they're under contract, you're stuck with the team as long as they keep you under your contract. College football players can be like, okay, well, you want to call me fat and dumb, I'm going to go play for a team that will appreciate me and my talent, not some guy that's going to call me fat and dumb. I don't know.
Not some fat guy calling me fat and dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I agree with both of you guys. I think even if he had made these comments privately, it would have been better than these coming out public. I mean, it looks like he said it in like a press conference here, so I think he got a little bit emotional and said what was on his mind. He spoke the truth. I think that's how he really felt because he was so angry with the way his team was playing. But yeah, if you're gonna say something like this, at least say it in the locker room instead of to the media. But yeah, I agree with you guys on how it could have been a lot better. Yeah, so we do want to talk about the SEC because it's wide open. I mean, Bama is the front runner, I think mainly just because historical reason. We just expect them to win all these games. We expect them to go undefeated or drop one loss but win the SEC championship or something like that. But out of the 5 SEC teams that are unbeaten, there's 3 in the West, 2 in the East. So Georgia and Florida in the East, Auburn, Alabama, LSU in the West. I actually like all 3 teams in the West better than the East. I think Florida is kind of like, if I had to compare Florida to a team, I'd compare Florida to like Iowa. They've looked good against the teams they should be, but we really haven't seen them play a good team yet. So, and that's kind of what Iowa's been too. Iowa has been. So, I mean, who knows what Florida can do? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up beating Georgia. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up beating Auburn since they're at home for that game. But if I had to rank the 5, I'd put Florida at 5. Georgia, I'm putting it at 4. Might be a little bit controversial, but I don't know. There's just something about Georgia that I don't like this year. I just have a bad feeling about them. I don't think they've looked as good as the other 3 teams have. I mean, they play in the East, so they have a little bit easier competition. They have a better chance than the West teams who are all going to be playing each other, but especially Auburn having to face Florida and Georgia too. I mean, they've got a true gauntlet ahead of them. But if I had to make like power rankings, I would put them 4th. And then when you look at the SEC West, this is all 3 of these teams I think are so good. It could be any of them. I mean, and that's the fun thing too, is I don't think it's for sure Bama this year. I think in years past we've just kind of written it off as, oh, it's Bama. But and I'm not sure what the home and away situation is going to be like for these games, but Bama and LSU last year, it was a close game for a long time. This year, it's going to be, I think, an even closer game. LSU might even just end up winning it. I mean, that's how good I think LSU is. Like I said, that one time I thought they should have been ranked number 2 after the win against Texas. Auburn I mean, I was kind of doubting Auburn, but after that win against Mississippi State, I am no longer a doubter. I fully believe in them. I I don't. They have such a tough schedule though, having to play Florida and Georgia from the East. So I don't. I think they have a greater chance of losing some games, and then I'm actually for my power rankings, I'm going to put Alabama third, just because Alabama. I don't. I mean, they've looked good, but the Bama from the past wouldn't give up 31 points to Ole Miss. I mean, the defense seems to be a little bit of a regression here. I don't think it's anything major. They're not bad defensively or anything like that, but it's just it doesn't seem to be. I mean, they had a lot of talent going that last NFL draft, and they've still got talent, but just doesn't seem to me like it's all that. I know that they're ranked number 1 right now, but these are just my power rankings. So I've got them third. I've got Auburn second, LSU first. So those are my SEC power rankings.
Well, I would have to agree to start with that Florida is probably the worst. Like, I'd put them at number 5 in this group. I mean, they've had, like, obviously they're undefeated, but they've had really close calls against Kentucky, and they had a really close call against Miami at the start of the year. And outside of that, they haven't played anybody. I mean, heck, they played Towson last week.
Towson, Tennessee, and Tennessee Martin.
Yeah, right. So, they just haven't shown me anything yet. I mean, it's in a way baffling to me that they're still ranked number 10. I mean, it's kind of like, who have you played that has allowed you to have that ranking, even though you're 5-0? Like, there's other teams below them that are undefeated that have played better competition, and even teams that are like 4-1 that are below them that have played better competition. So, yeah, easily Florida is number 5. This is probably really, you thought it was controversial to put Alabama at number 3. I'm going to put Alabama at number 4, actually, out of this group. Because, again, like, they haven't played anybody yet. And the fact that, like you said, they gave up, like, 31 points to Ole Miss. I mean, I know this offense is good, but what happens when you start facing an actual good defense? I mean, we've all heard the term defense wins championships. And this is the reason why I got to put Georgia ahead of Alabama, because Georgia has a much better defense right now. I mean, they've only given up 40 points across their 4 games right now, and they only gave up 17 to Notre Dame. And, going out there and beating a team that's been ranked in the top 15 the whole season, that's saying something. And the fact that Alabama so far, I mean, Ole Miss is okay, but I mean the rest of their schedule playing against Duke and Southern Miss and South Carolina and New Mexico State, like, they're gonna have to prove to me, they're not playing. They're off this week, but next week after that they're playing Texas A&M. Like, that's when they're gonna have to prove that, okay, we are for real, we are really good, because they just haven't played anybody. And if I look at the rest of their schedule, I mean, yeah, they got to play Auburn and they got to play LSU, but the rest of their schedule is vanilla. Besides that,
are you looking at, like, the home and away? Do they have those games both at home, one at home, one away?
Well, the LSU game is at home.
Okay.
But the Auburn game it's going to be in Auburn this year. But
yeah.
I mean, you can never really call that, like, it's hard for rivalry games like that, because obviously the crowd's going to be Auburn, heavy in a way, but there's definitely going to be lots of Alabama fans there because it's the same state. So
yeah.
So I don't judge that one too much based on home and away, but the LSU game is at home. But I mean, the rest of their schedule, they're playing Tennessee, Arkansas, then they're going to go play at Mississippi State, which, Mississippi State gave them a little scare last year, but
after how they couldn't do anything against Auburn, I don't think that's any much of a problem.
Right, yeah. That's what I was saying. Like, this year, I don't think they're going to do that. And then Western Carolina, which isn't even a Division I school. So, Yeah, I got to put Auburn or Alabama at number 4, which, like I said, I know that's probably even a lot more controversial. People are like, "What? What's wrong with you? The number 1 ranked team in the country? You think they're the 4th best in the SEC?" Yeah, I do. Prove me wrong. That's all I have to say. And then Georgia, like I said, it's that win over Notre Dame that I have to put them up there. I mean, and the fact that they, only gave up 17 points to Notre Dame, and their defense is just looking so much better. And they also have a little bit of an easier schedule. Like they play Florida at home.
Well, that's in Jacksonville. That's not really a home game.
That's a neutral game.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But I mean, their only tough test after this really is going to be when they have to play at Auburn. That's going to be I think that could be deciding for if between Georgia and Florida who goes to the SEC title game. Unless Georgia goes and beats Florida earlier, we'll see how that goes. And then it is a tough choice between LSU and Auburn, but I like to go based off of what I've seen so far, and I've seen more from Auburn so far. I know LSU has that win over Texas, that was a pretty impressive game. I know Nate and I both picked Texas to at least cover the spread in that game, and they didn't, and LSU came out with the victory. So that was an impressive win. But, I mean, Auburn already has just shown, through 5 games, they beat Oregon, who's a top 15 team. They beat Texas A&M at Texas A&M, a loud stadium and Kyle
Field.
Yeah. Yeah, and they just completely dominated Mississippi State. And they beat Tulane, who is also, right on the brink of being a top 25 team. So, it's I don't see any way that I can't put them number 1 right now out of those teams. Obviously, they have a tough road ahead, like you mentioned. They got to play Florida, LSU, Georgia, and Alabama. So,
yeah,
out of all these teams, they definitely have the largest gauntlet to go through. But, if they can win 3 out of the 4 of those games, then I don't see any reason why Auburn isn't the best. Might not be even a contender for the national championship if they can win 3 out of the 4. Because 2 of those, at least for Georgia and Alabama, they get those games at home. But it's going to be tough to go into Baton Rouge to play against LSU because we all know how loud that stadium gets.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I got to put LSU second and Auburn first.
Okay, so there you have it, guys. Those are our power rankings for those 5 SEC teams as we'll transition into the NFL side and give Eric some time to talk because I know he's been waiting patiently.
You're good. It's all a big deal. Actually, for the college, I don't watch as much college, but I have to agree with you guys for the most part. My only reason why I would probably have Alabama, for me, it's like they're number 1 until somebody beats them.
To be the man, you got to beat the man.
Yeah.
Could y'all hear me there? It said I lost. Did y'all hear that?
I heard you stopped, but then I think I got your point. You still want Alabama.
Yeah,
okay,
I heard that. I heard the Alabama is number 1 until someone beats them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and plus, as Connor mentioned, which this doesn't necessarily make them number 1, but the fact that they have an easier schedule definitely gives them an advantage. So I don't know what's going on with my Skype. I'm having poor connection here apparently, but I guess I'll just end it with that.
Now,
yeah.
But okay. So anyway, I agree with Florida being the worst out of the 5. I haven't seen anything too impressive from them yet, so we'll see. But once
I know you're happy about that.
Which I'm fine with that. Honestly, even I watched all the Miami game, and that game was pretty close. And then I watched, a lot of the Kentucky game, and that game was really close. And then even the Tennessee game, while that was a blowout, they had a lot of mistakes in that game that just, unfortunately, with Tennessee being so bad, it sucks. It sucks to be a fan of Tennessee, but I'm always going to be loyal to them. But Florida actually had a lot of mistakes in that game that they weren't able to capitalize on, and that Tennessee wasn't able to capitalize on. So whereas Florida took advantage of Tennessee's mistakes. But if Tennessee could have capitalized on a lot of those mistakes, I don't think they would have won, but it would have at least been a much closer game. So I need to see Florida beat a legit team before I consider them to be a contender. I just don't believe in them right now. But honestly, out of the other four, though, I mean, they're all legit contenders. It's going to be a good season to see how this plays out. But I'm actually going to, I mean, like I said, I'm going to stick with Alabama at number one until somebody beats them. I have to keep them at number one. But I am going to go with Auburn at number two over LSU mainly because of the defensive issues. It seems like LSU has struggled on defense a lot this season so far. They've had a couple of games, even in the Texas game they won, but they gave up 38, and they also gave up 38 to Vanderbilt. That concerns me a little bit. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun ride regardless of who wins, just as long as it's not Florida or Alabama. Go Auburn, LSU, or Georgia.
Yeah.